week 2 of my video series installments. So tonight we're going to be talking about digestion, if it's optimized, if it's not optimized, how this plays a pretty major role in fat loss. And the reason why I thought this would be the perfect topic to segue on is because the last video that I did was on a case study of a gentleman that was very bloated. You may have seen the picture. He's very bloated. He was having a lot of trouble losing weight. He was doing all the right things, and the scale really wasn't budging. The shape of his torso wasn't budging. And it wasn't until I changed a lot of things with his gut that he actually started to, or the way his gut was functioning, I helped to balance it, that he was able to get somewhere. So we're just going to talk about a couple things. Now, most people are not taught that your gut health needs to be as optimized as possible, as balanced as possible, in order to get the best result from your eating, your exercise plan as possible. So here's a couple signs we can look for. So the first sign we want to look for is we're going to look at bloating. So if you are somebody that gets bloated easily, I wouldn't just write that off. Typically you're that type of person where, like, maybe you take Tums, maybe you take like Gas-X, it doesn't work. Maybe you even tried a probiotic and that still didn't work. So there can be a lot of causes for this. Which I won't get into too much, but if you are bloating, then chances are that you've got some things going on. It could be SIBO, which is called, stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. There could be all kinds of imbalances. There could be like yeast overgrowth, candida, all kinds of things. So you really don't know unless you do some type of testing. So you don't really want to go out there and just start throwing products at things without some type of test. So that's the first thing. So if you're bloating, that's a pretty big indicator. There's something not quite right in the gut area, so you're going to definitely want to get that checked out somehow. Now you're probably thinking, my doctor says I have IBS and that's all there is to it. I would definitely seek a second opinion from somebody that is willing to dig into issues like that, because IBS is usually a very blanket statement that means we don't really know what's going on. We know you've got some bloating, some other things, but here, take this prescription drug and just kind of mask the symptom. So I would highly encourage you to look beyond an IBS diagnosis if you've ever gotten something like that. So number 2 is gas. So if you have any type of gas, especially frequently, it smells really bad. Maybe it smells a lot like sulfur. These all mean different things. So it means whatever it is that you're eating is not being broken down very well. And maybe there's even, some fermentation going on, things like that. So you really shouldn't have a whole lot of gas. If you have a lot of gas, that can be an indicator. That can happen a lot with protein shakes, egg whites, a lot of sulfur-based foods, like broccoli, beans, things like that. So that would be another indicator. So your third one is regular bowel movements of about 12 inches of fecal matter or more. Obviously, we don't want you to measure it, so we're just going to have you eyeball it. But if you are eliminating around 12 inches of fecal matter a day, either all at once or in several trips to the bathroom, then you're in a good place, because number 1, that means that you are eating a good amount of fiber, because you have to eat enough to push things through your intestinal tract. And number 2, you're hydrated. And number 3, your migrating motor complex is working properly. And you are eliminating like you were supposed to. So a lot of people are actually constipated. They don't realize it, so they might be told that it's okay for them to go to the bathroom every 2 days, every 3 days, something like that. And the problem with that is that when the stool and things like that get backed up, you are creating a more toxic environment, and that's not a good thing. So a lot of times people have a lot of stool backed up in there, and it can be a big problem. So there's some steps you can take to get things regular again, but it's really going to depend on why you're not regular in the first place. Are you dehydrated? Are you not eating enough fiber? There can be all kinds of reasons for it. So you always want to investigate before you just start throwing products at it. I can say that protein bars like Quest bars, really high protein, really, really high fiber bars out there can be really bad at causing constipation for people, because it's just a pure block of fiber. Now, some people's digestive systems can handle this. Other people's digestive systems absolutely cannot, and things just start stockpiling on top of each other, especially if you eat a lot of protein bars. So if you're someone that struggles anyway, then I really would advise against like a Quest bar, or something like that. So, and then sort of like a, out on the fringe, but still relevant to what I'm talking about. We also have to take a look at malabsorption issues. So you might not even be absorbing your food properly. That's a possibility. You may have inflammation from something that you're eating. And if you're inflamed, it's going to really mask how you're responding to a calorie deficit and exercise, and things like that. And like I've talked about in my other Go Lives, if you are very inflamed, your body is going to swell, it's going to hold on to more fluid. So the scale is going to show or register higher than really what it should be because you're very inflamed. So like I talked about in my other Go Live, one of the mistakes people make is they start to drop calories when the scale isn't moving or body composition isn't changing. But really what the problem is that they're consuming a food or beverage that's making them very inflamed. So the problem with doing that continuously until you get a result, either in on the scale or measurements, things like that, is that you can end up becoming somewhat malnourished because you can only drop those calories so far before it compromises the nutrition that you need, like vitamins and minerals and proteins and good fats and things like that. So that's the one thing I caution you about. Calories still matter, but we have to investigate causes sometimes. If the scale's not moving, we have to see what's really going on. So I'm just gonna check. Looks like I have a question here. Okay, so Mark says, what is normal, especially for IBS? Well, first of all, probably the best way to respond to that is IBS is not normal, so therefore we can't really define a normal for IBS because like I talked about earlier, IBS is a blanket statement that usually just means that the doctor really doesn't know what's going on. There can be a lot of different causes for IBS. There could be something as simple as, well, maybe I shouldn't even list them because I feel like it'd be irresponsible just to throw things out there because then people are going to think that's the right thing for them. And the reality is that there's going to be something different for everybody. But usually IBS is the result of either deficiencies, an overgrowth of some kind. It could be a reaction to a food that you're eating. So it's really important if you want to get beyond just an IBS diagnosis to really investigate what could be causing it. So you might want to look at like food sensitivity testing, or you might want to look at, maybe like a SIBO test or something like that, gut dysbiosis, things like that. Even parasites. It can be so many different things that are causing this, general IBS diagnosis, but I really wouldn't accept that. I would keep pushing to find out more about the root cause. And in very minor cases, I'm usually able to help people resolve their IBS through a series of questions. If I can't, I refer them out for testing with a higher level professional. So definitely make sure you work with somebody that knows what they're looking for and that can actually test to see what's going on. You don't want to just start randomly throwing probiotics at a problem because then you can actually cause another problem like SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So those are just my quick tips for tonight. I'm going to be doing more live videos this week, probably going to do one every single night, always after 6 o'clock. And just catch me here. If you found this video useful, please feel free to share. I appreciate it. Have a great night.